What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our SEC football channel. We're going to give you our Week 3 power rankings in the SEC. Not a bad week in Week 2 for the conference. You had LSU beating Texas. Missouri dismantles West Virginia. Big win for them. All of a sudden, the South Carolina loss to North Carolina doesn't look so bad. North Carolina just beat Miami as well. You would have liked to have seen Vanderbilt maybe get a win against Purdue, and then Tennessee once again letting the conference down with their loss. But overall, it was a pretty solid week, with the highlight being that LSU win over Texas. But we'll get it started here with number 14. We have a new team at the bottom. That is Arkansas. Last week we had Tennessee at the bottom. I've actually moved Tennessee up despite the fact that they lost because they were competitive, and we'll get to them in a second. But Arkansas really just didn't look like they were going to have any chance in this game against Ole Miss. They lose. They're now 1-1. They almost lost to Portland State. Only won that game by a touchdown. It just doesn't feel like this Arkansas team has made the strides that I had expected coming into this season. I thought they were going to be a lot better. Ole Miss, in my opinion, is still one of the bottom teams in the SEC, and Arkansas didn't really look like they had any chance in that game, like I said. So Arkansas comes in at number 14. Number 13 is Tennessee, and again, you don't normally see a team move up for losing, but you saw that this Tennessee team was a better team than BYU. I mean, they had this game in control for the most part. Lost it late, blew the game. Horrible loss. Just a horrible way to lose a football game. And so, yeah, the loss definitely hurts. But if we're just ranking these teams based on how good they are, if you put Tennessee and Arkansas on the field today on a neutral field, I would take Tennessee. And that's really what this comes down to. We are ranking these teams based on how good I think they are at this present point during the season. So Tennessee comes in at number 13, moving up one spot despite the loss. Number 12 is Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt went into Purdue and competed pretty well in the game, but Purdue did pull away. Tough loss there for the Commodores. They're now 0-2. Tough way to start the season. You got Georgia in the opener, then you go on the road to face Purdue. I'm not going to completely give up on Vanderbilt this season. These were, again, two pretty tough games. Purdue is that game, that swing game that I thought if they win this game, they're probably going to go to a bowl game. If they lose this game, they're probably not going to go to a bowl game. So I think it's going to be tough for Vanderbilt now to get back to 6-6 this year. Ultimately, I do think they'll miss out on a bowl game as they come in at number 12. Number 11 is Ole Miss, getting a big conference win over Arkansas. Very impressive win. You know, this team was close against Memphis, only lost that game, I think, by 5. So this is a pretty good football team. I don't think they're really going to be capable of playing with the top teams in the SEC, but I think that they are not the worst team, and I think they're capable of beating those mid-tier teams like South Carolina, Missouri, Kentucky, Mississippi State. They're capable of winning those games, and if they can string some of those wins together against those types of teams, all of a sudden Ole Miss could be there at 7-5 at the end of the year. Could have a pretty good year. With the loss to Memphis, I think it's going to be tough to get to 7-5, but 6-6 definitely a possibility for this team. South Carolina is at number 10. They go and blow out Charleston Southern 72-10. Ryan Helinski taking over at quarterback for the injured Jake Bentley. Helinski looked good. I talked about him during the spring game. I thought this guy had the it factor. I thought he would be a future star at South Carolina. Didn't expect his time to come this year, but he looked good. The numbers were solid. He's pretty efficient throwing the football, and they had a really nice day on the ground as well, but it was just Charleston Southern, so we're not going to jump and say, wow, South Carolina put up 72 points. They should be in the top 5. No, they're still at number 10 because of that loss to North Carolina. Number 9 is Missouri, and it was really tough for me between Missouri and South Carolina, but Missouri just had the better win this week. They beat West Virginia 38-7, completely dominated the game. That was a big win for them, and you kind of feel like the Wyoming loss was a little bit of a fluke. I mean, they had the turnovers. They gave up some big plays on defense. I'm kind of back to thinking that this Missouri team is going to be pretty good this year. Maybe not, a team that can compete in the SEC East, but still, this is a good football team, and I think they can compete with most teams in the SEC this year. Maybe they pull off a big upset. I don't know, but I have them at number 9. Number 8 is Kentucky. They are now 2-0 with a win over Eastern Michigan. Eastern Michigan's a pretty good Group of 5 team. This is a solid win. Kentucky has been tested, not really tested, but they've played some decent teams to start the season, and I think that's going to go well for them. The problem for Kentucky, though, is they lost their quarterback. Terry Wilson goes down with the injury. Looks like he is going to be out for the season. Just a horrible loss here for Kentucky because he was really starting to play good football. This team was much more balanced this year and looked like they had a chance to maybe make a run at that third or maybe in that second spot in the East. But Kentucky, how will they bounce back without Terry Wilson? That'll be the big question. Number 7, Mississippi State. Tommy Stevens going down with an injury, not lost for the season. I haven't really heard anything for sure on when he would come back, but they threw in a true freshman quarterback. They already had the game pretty much in control at that point. And Keaton Thompson was not available. I don't really know what the story is there. If Tommy Stevens cannot go, I would think that Thompson would get the start next week if he's available for whatever that means. He just wasn't available. So they get this win over a very good Southern Miss team, a very solid Group of 5 team. I was really impressed with Mississippi State. Kylan Hill, one of the top running backs in the SEC, and he is showing that. Bulldogs get the win. Number 6 is Texas A&M. Not a great effort against Clemson. This is pretty much what I expected. A lot of people thought Texas A&M might go in there and pull off an upset or take them down to the wire. This game was never close. Clemson dominated. I know the score wasn't that bad. A&M scored late. Clemson missed some opportunities on offense. This could have easily been a 30-point win for the Tigers. And you see here, just like I thought, and I've been getting a lot of heat from Texas A&M fans, this team is just not a top 10 team. They're a good team. They're a top 25 team, but they're not ready to compete with the top teams in the country this year. They're just not quite on that level yet. Still a solid team at number 6, but not in the top 5 anymore, as Florida is at number 5, an impressive win over UT Martin. Yes, it was a Group of 5 or a FCS team, and only put up 45 points. But the defense looked really good, obviously pitching a shutout. That's what we've learned about Florida. Their defense, based off of what we saw against Miami in this game, they're going to have a really good defense. That is not going to be an issue for them. It's the offense. They've got to get it together there. The offensive line has got to play better. Felipe Franks has to play better. And once they get into conference play, and if they can't do that, Florida's going to lose some games this year. But if they can get the offense clicking, all of a sudden Florida becomes a real challenger to Georgia in the East. Number 4 is Auburn. Played Tulane, a pretty good Group of 5 team. The offense really was sluggish in this one, especially in the first half. Defense, though, dominant again. It's a tough race trying to compare these defenses. Who has the best defense in the SEC? It might be Auburn. We haven't seen enough games, I don't think, to where you can really compare all these defenses just yet. But so far, Auburn has been very solid on that side of the ball. Bo Nix takes care of the football in this game. If he can do that, and if they can get a little bit more of a run game going, Auburn becomes a very dangerous team, as we have them at number 4. Number 3 is Georgia. The Bulldogs get a win over Murray State, as expected, 63-17 the final score here. Didn't even have to play their starters too long. This was they did. I think it was like 7-7 early, though. It was fairly close early on, but yeah, Georgia pulled away. They are at number 3. We haven't seen them get tested just yet. In a couple of weeks, they play Notre Dame. That's going to be a great matchup there. So Georgia at number 3. Maybe they're this good, maybe they're not. We think they are based off of the talent on the roster and what we've seen the last couple of years out of Georgia. We really haven't seen it just yet. They did look very solid against Vanderbilt, though, so I will give them that. Number 2, though, falling from number 1, it's Alabama. It really is. It has nothing to do with Alabama. I don't think this team's any worse than I did last week, but it has more to do with LSU looking really impressive. But they're number 2 now, a 62-10 win over New Mexico State. We haven't seen them tested yet. Will South Carolina give them a test, a challenge this coming week? That is going to be a really interesting story to watch. Ryan Helinski going to have to grow up really fast going up against this Alabama defense. Back in 2010, remember, when Alabama traveled to South Carolina, we saw an upset. Could it happen again this year? Probably not, but who knows. Number 1, though, is LSU. They are now 2-0 with an impressive win over Texas, maybe the best win for any team this season. Auburn had the win over Oregon, which was also a pretty impressive win, but LSU just looks so good right now. The defense, yes, they gave up 38 points, but you can still see they were going up against a great offense in Texas. So I'm not too worried about that. But this offense for LSU, it's at another level. They are playing really, really well. Joe Burrow is playing really, really well. It's just crazy to see LSU with this type of an offense. They're very dangerous. I think if they were on the field today against Alabama on a neutral field, LSU would win that game. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to say LSU can go into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama, so maybe Alabama's still my favorite to win the West, but just comparing the teams where they are right now in the season and what they've done, I think LSU deserves to be number 1 in our SEC Power Rankings. Do you agree? Let me know down in the comments below. I've been hyping up this LSU team all off season. I knew the potential was there. I knew this offense could do what it did, but I was a little hesitant until I actually saw it on the field, because we've had high hopes for LSU's offense in the past, and they've just been that same old sluggish offense that they've had really for a while now, and they've really relied on their defense, a run game. But with this type of offense, they are right there with Alabama now, and it is going to be a great game. LSU versus Alabama coming up in November. Both teams could be undefeated at that time. But those are our power rankings. Again, give me your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports SEC Football Channel.